Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about belts. This particular vehicle, the '05 Ford Ranger, over the years that I've owned it, I've had to replace the belt many times, usually due to squeaks and chirp noises. Usually belts, when you know they're going bad on a day that there's a lot of moisture in the air, you'll start your car up and it'll have a high-pitched squeal. And then after a minute or two it will go away and can develop into a chirp or a little bit of a squeak. I'm not having any problems with this belt right now, but I just wanted to do a demo on replacing it. Belts can break too. Very rare though for them just to break for no reason. Usually it's due to one of the accessory drive pulleys. Bearing is bad, that it's locked up. Very common on Fords to have bad AC compressors. Pulleys go bad and they cause the belt to break. It happened to me on this vehicle. This I guess was like 2 years ago that had an AC compressor pulley go bad and it wound up throwing the belt off. Another thing that happens to belts is they get you'll have a pulley problem or will wobble and will cause the belt to fray. It will go off its track and wind up cutting one of the ribs off of it. But this is something that you should be doing every 50,000 miles or so. Alright, so let me show you what's involved in taking the belt off. Okay, so this is the belt on this particular vehicle. This is the AC compressor, power steering pump. We have what's called an idler pulley. We have dead center where the fan is connected is called the water pump pulley. This is called our tensioner right there. Then on this side we have an alternator. All right, and all the way down on the bottom is our crankshaft. That is what's being spun by our 4 strokes of the engine, the explosion that's being spun there to spin our belt. On the other side of the crankshaft, it drives our transmission. Okay, so what's involved in taking this off is I'm going to wind up taking this air intake tube off and our air filter off. So let me get started on that. So one of the things I have to take off is this sensor here. It's called a mass airflow sensor. So I'm going to have to squeeze this connector, which I might have to do while not holding the camera because it's a little bit tough. The other thing I have to do is undo these latches on the air filter. And I have this hose right here, which is connected to what's called my crankcase. This pulls vapors out of it so it doesn't build up too much pressure to blow out gaskets, like valve cover gaskets. And then I have my air intake, which I believe I've already loosened. Alright, so let's get started with taking the air filter clips off. There's one there, and then there's one on this side. Alright, put the camera down for a second. I'll take my mass airflow sensor connector off. So I gotta squeeze this tab. See, there's a little locking mechanism you have to pull, and then you squeeze the tab. It allows you to get it off. And now over here we have this tube. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good camera angle. We have this tube right here that I have to pull this little green tab, push it, so I can wiggle it. And it comes off. On that. Gotta pull that to release it. And then after I unscrew this, I just wiggle it, pull it off my throttle body, and then I can take the whole assembly out of my way. That gives us a better look at our belt now. So we got our alternator, our water pump, our crank, our idler pulley, AC compressor, power steering pump, and our tensioner. So if this belt were to break, you'd probably hear a bang in your car, and then your battery light would come on because this isn't doing its job anymore. The next thing that would happen would be your check engine light would come on. And then after your check engine light came on, you would probably notice that it's really hard to steer, and then by then you would run out of battery and the car would just die on the side of the road. All right, so what I have to do to get this belt off is I got to put a specialty tool on that 15mm bolt, or a 15mm combo, or just a socket and a ratchet. But I have a specialty tool I'm going to wind up using. Get you a good angle. So when I put this tool on it, I'm going to have to push downward. And that is going to move that pulley. And see how it makes the belt loose when it does that? So when I move that, I'm going to take it off this smooth groove pulley and release it, and then I can wind up taking my whole belt off. So I take it off my alternator, I take it off the crank, take it off the tensioner, and then I got this fan in my way. So what I'm going to wind up doing is taking it across the blade, turning my fan and keep fishing it around until it comes out the other side. Oh, I got jammed up a little bit. And then I can get my belt totally removed. Now, things I look for on my belt is I look for cracks, dirt. See, this thing's got a lot of dirt in it. And then I'm looking at my grooves down here, and they got a lot of dirt in them too. Looks like rubber of some kind, maybe from when my old belt went bad. There's all kinds of rubber in the grooves. Sometimes when I have belts that chirp, I'll wind up taking a flathead screwdriver and I'll spin the pulley and try to dig all this stuff out of the pulley, because all this little chunky stuff can cause all kinds of noises. Okay, so over here we have our belt routing diagram. By the way, this belt is called a serpentine belt, or an accessory drive belt. There's some cars have another belt that's called a timing belt, which times your crankshaft to your camshaft. If that one goes bad, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. This job should definitely be under $100 that we're doing today. Belts are usually 20 to 50 bucks, and then they usually charge you an hour labor, or maybe even a half an hour. But we're going to be looking at this diagram. So that pulley right there is my crank. That one is my tensioner. That is my water pump, alternator, idler pulley, AC compressor, and power steering pump. Alright, so now let me start rerouting it. The first thing I'm going to do is get it around my fan again. Alright, so it's around my fan. Now the first pulley I want to get it around is my crankshaft. So I'll go all the way down to the bottom and get it around my crankshaft. Now, if I look at my routing thing, if I take this and slide it in between the water pump, I have to get it around my tensioner. Well, that didn't sound good. That's got a bad bearing in it. So this idler pulley here's got a bad bearing in it. Maybe I'll go to the store and buy a new one. It's not supposed to sound like that. It should be smooth like this. See, I'm spinning this one, we hear nothing. Alright, so now I got it around my crank, I got it around my tensioner. Now it winds up going up to my alternator. Around my power steering pump. And the next thing I have to get it around is this idler pulley. So if you see, I don't have enough length, so I got to put my tool back on it, pry on it, give my length to get it back on. So now that I got it back on, and my belt's nice and tight. So on my air filter, I got these little tabs. I got to make sure that they wind up going into these slots when I put it together. So I got that on. And I'm not going to make a mistake and not put the mass airflow sensor back on. Put that one back on. I'm just going down the row of all the things that I did. Reclip my air filter box back on. Further, put my hose back on, clip it into place, put that back on the intake.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Oh, hi. Not working on your Camaro?
Right now I'm actually doing a class. Alright guys, so I got it all back together. And we'll start it up and make sure there's no squeaks. We'll start the car back up, make sure there's no squeaks and it doesn't fall off its pulley. So she's running right, but I'm hearing a little chirp that might be from that bad pulley bearing. So I'm going to run to the auto parts store and get a new idler pulley. Alright guys, that was a quick little 12-minute video. Hope that helps somebody out. You guys have a good day.